Jennifer Lapka, who is our speaker today, has a great story about being empowered. So let me read your bio real fast. So Jennifer Lapka is a nonprofit specialist, a student of Kansas City's Garment District history, and a champion of Kansas City's fashion community. Her career has included stops in Northeast England, London, and Kansas City, including the Baltic, the Victoria and Albert Museum, and the Marion and Henry Block Family Foundation, respectively. She founded Rightfully Sewn in September 2015, which is a social entrepreneurial organization that creates jobs and opportunities through the business of fashion. Specifically, they offer seamstress training and job placement for women and incubate fashion designers in order to retain them in our community. So she's going to share her story with ourselves today. Story of empowerment of herself and her organization. So please welcome Jennifer.
Thank you so much. I have made myself a stronger human being so that I might be of service to others. I have developed my voice so that I might speak up for others. I have empowered myself so that I might help others empower themselves. I am Jennifer Lapka, the founder and president of Rightfully Sewn. Thank you to Amy for that lovely introduction, to the entire leadership group for picking me to be your lead speaker on this topic. Also, thank you for being here, and thank you to Black Veatch Women's Network all over the world that is tuning in. I'm going to talk about our organization and how we are using fashion to advance Kansas City's economy, build businesses, and most importantly, empower women. Oh, and I forgot my clicker. Thank you. We have 60 short minutes together. Here's what we're going to cover. What is Rightfully Sewn? A snapshot of our organizational health. Who am I? Why Kansas City? And the things that I hold true. This is all of our organizational mission and vision statements, but together I like to focus on the mission statement. I love hearing voices in unison, so if we could all read it together, I'd be grateful. Ready, set, go. Rightfully Sewn provides seamstress training for women so that they can thrive in a specialized workforce that will reestablish Kansas City as an epicenter of garment manufacturing, while at the same time propel Kansas City fashion designers to market so they can supply the burgeoning demand for high-quality, American-produced garments. Thank you. And if you don't mind, Maestro, we're going to see advance our atelier video so you can see where we carry out our mission. Every time I see that. That was produced by David Kobzantsev, a wonderful local Kansas City director. But it was responsible for helping us finish our capital campaign last year. At the heart of Rightfully Sewn is our innovative seamstress training program.
Are you trying to learn Adobe Illustrator for designing beautiful graphics, logos, and more? My name is Phil Ebener, and I've helped thousands of people just like you learn illustration.
Thank Thank you. At the heart of Rightfully Sewn is our innovative seamstress training program. It exists to move women into well-paying jobs at manufacturers, tailors, and retailers within 8 weeks. This is a portrait of our first graduating class, our pilot class in 2016, which we fondly nicknamed the United Nations of Sewing. We have Marcia from Afghanistan, Sholeh from Iran, we have Amna from Syria, Jasmine from America, Lillian from Congo, and Andrasia from America. This is a picture of Lillian and her beautiful family. They endured unspeakable incidents to leave their war-torn Congo, to come to America, to build a life, to live the American dream. That story is hers to tell, but I would like to share with you, she is gainfully employed now in Kansas City at Cintas Uniform. She also single-handedly changed my perspective about my own life. I used to think, I'm so busy, I'm so stressed. But if you listen to Lillian, she's one of the hardest working, most graceful women I've ever met. She would come to our class in the morning. She would work a part-time job in the afternoon. She was learning how to drive. She was teaching other French speakers how to speak English. She was keeping house for 10 people, and she was sewing clothing for her children and her neighbors. Amazing. This is a picture of our first space. Before we had that beautiful atelier space you saw in the video, we borrowed a free space. It was a sewing room at a high school, Paseo Academy of Fine and Performing Arts, if you're familiar. You can see in the upper left hand, Mayor Sly came to see us. He's a huge proponent of what we're doing, which we're grateful for. We teach them sewing. We teach them how to take body measurements. We teach them how to work with patterns. In the lower left-hand corner is the President, Wendy Doyle, from the Women's Foundation. We had her come in and speak about how do you negotiate your salary. Everybody needs to do that, especially women, because statistically we don't. This is a picture of our class from last year, 2018, and it took place in our atelier space in the heart of the Crossroads. You can see the smattering of pictures of this class. In the upper left, again, we had a representative, Kendall Seal from Women's Foundation, come in and speak about salary negotiation. Odette in the upper right-hand corner, who now works at Allied Materials, which sews governmental flags and also uniforms. They need 4 to 6 seamstresses right now, in addition to Odette. In the lower left-hand corner is a picture of Uera, who's working on an industrial sewing machine. Industrial, also known as commercial, that's what they use at factories and in tailoring shops and so on and so forth. So they need to know how to work on those very powerful, fast machines. In the lower right-hand corner is Pamela Lucas, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, who's giving some help to Wakubinga and her interpreter during an exam. This is Budar from Syria. In the forefront are 2 of her children. Just behind her is Patty Vidros, who is one of 3 classroom mentors who helped Pamela develop and deliver the lesson plans. Marzia, hard at work. She works for Elevate Dancewear. She's one of 4 of our graduates who works for Lisa Choles. Lisa Choles is an amazing fashion entrepreneur in Kansas City. She's a retired Kansas City ballerina. Raise your hand if you know. I see you shaking your head. You know. Do you have a dancer in your family?
No. Our oldest children were classmates.
Okay. Well, she is a very tall ballerina, so she would sew her own leotards. And then when she retired, she would sew leotards for her friends and their friends' children. And fast forward 8 years to now, she has her own manufacturing factory, 30,000 square feet. You know, as engineers, it's amazing what she's done to that space. It is the antithesis of what you think about when you think about a sweatshop in a developing country. It's bright, it's big, it's organized, it's colorful. She offers her staff living wages and benefits, and she cares about their religion. And Marzia she's one of the individuals who came through our program who had never touched a sewing machine in her life, electric or a foot pedal. And she's an amazing seamstress working a great job for Lisa Choles. We have a 93% graduation rate, a 79% job placement rate. There are over 100 jobs open right now in Kansas City with manufacturers, retailers, and tailor shops. The wages range from minimum wage to 27, and the more that we work on this, the more transparency is happening, the more we can push our graduates to the places that pay the most and the best, we're going to see that average increase. We also have a fashion designer professional development program, as Amy mentioned. The goal of that is to retain these creatives in our community instead of bleeding them to the east and the west coast like we have for the last 30 or 40 years. Flanked alongside me to my right is Godfrey Riddle on the team, and then the others are resident designers who get to utilize our atelier space for client meetings, for sewing. We send them through what used to be called Kaufman Fast Track when I went through it. Now it's called Elevation Lab New Venture, but we help them develop their business plans. We also do workshops, all in an effort to help them develop their business side because their creative side is already very active. This is a couple of looks from Kimby Sweeney, who is second in from the left. She is from Kansas City, and she actually from China first, but here in Kansas City. She showed at Omaha Fashion Week, which is actually a really huge fashion week in the Midwest, and she received an award for Best in Show. So we want to keep someone like Kimby in Kansas City, don't we? This is a picture in the upper left, Jeremy Scott in the center. Raise your hand if you're familiar with him. He's an amazing Kansas City story. He's from outside of Kansas City, and he studied in New York. He has his own eponymous label that he shows in New York Fashion Week. He's also the creative director of Moschino, which is an Italian luxury brand. What he is doing all over the world, he's very well known. He dresses Britney Spears, he dresses Lady Gaga, he dresses the most, well-known Hollywood people. And Rightfully Sewn sponsored him to come in and speak on a panel in relation to the screening of his documentary. If you've been to the Plaza and you know the cinema that's there, we sold out 2 theaters of his documentary because he is such an amazing story, and he really inspires people from all walks of life, and I think it just is really indicative of the passion for fashion that we have in Kansas City. This is a picture of me trying to hold it together and not botch it because I am so starstruck by being so close to him. And then the other 2 guys are the producers of his documentary. It's called Jeremy Scott, the People's Designer. And Courtney, I know you're sketching this down for your 12-year-old son. But anybody, I think, would be very inspired by his story. He was raised in a rural area. He was rejected from an art school that he really wanted to go to, but he persevered. He lived on a subway for a while in Paris. He did it to achieve his dream. We also, because in Kansas City, Cy Rednick's closed, Kaplan's fabric store closed. We don't have anything aside from big box stores or buying online. So Rightfully Sewn brings in a fabric trade show. This is a picture of 3 of our volunteers who I love, Margie and Ritambra and Lena. They're just amazing people are involved with Rightfully Sewn. This is a picture of a seminar that we did, and we bring in high school age fashion designers, college age, and then also established adult designers too. In fact, I'm so excited. Who works out in here? Yes. Who knows about carbon 38? Yes. I love to work out, and that is the quintessential place that I get my workout clothes. They are beautiful workout clothes that you cannot get anywhere else. It's another retired ballerina, Katie Warner Johnson. We're flying her in. She is the keynote speaker on June 1st. She's going to inspire not only the fashion community, but the entrepreneurial community and the fitness community. I welcome all of you to come. The tickets start at $10 for students, $15 for teachers, and then $25 for GA. It's at the beautiful Kaufman Center, which is where I had a career stop at, so I love that place too. But I am so excited to bring her here, honestly. All right, now if we can have the next YouTube, I'm going to show you about our new YouTube. Hello, and welcome to the Rightfully Sewn Atelier and YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jennifer Lapka, and I'm thrilled you're with us. Together, along with special guests, we're going to explore fashion design, entrepreneurship, and domestic manufacturing. Today, we're going to learn about how to persevere through the rigors of entrepreneurship. 30% of businesses fail within the first 2 years, 50% fail within the first 5 years, and 66% within the first 10. Abysmal, I know, but trust me, you can do it. Here with us today is our friend Jordan Williams, founder of Keith Cravat. It's a bow tie luxury line, and he's going to share some tips about persevering entrepreneurship.
Welcome to this segment of How to Persevere Through Entrepreneurship. Jennifer, thank you for that introduction. First things first, research and resources. It's really important to know who is in your circle that can help you go to the next level, and it's important to understand the industry that you're about to take on. When I started my company, I took the time out to understand the ins and outs about neckwear, got very familiar with the product, to learn the craftsmanship, and I also got familiar with industry leaders that was doing what I've already done. Also, it's important to just stop and think about who do you know in your circle, who's building right now, who can you connect with, who is that person that can actually elevate with you. And that's how I was able to build my network and more understanding, which led me to more opportunities. The second thing that I want to talk to you guys about is business development. I think it's really important to build a brand that solves a problem. And what I mean by that is, as an entrepreneur, you are in the business to solve people's problems. So if you identify a pain point that people are experiencing, then it's important for you to come up with a plan to address that and then actually market it so that person who identifies with those pain points can actually respond to it and buy your services or buy your product. So I really encourage you to sit and think about, how do I build a brand that's going to solve a problem? Last but not least, I want to leave you guys with entrepreneur mindset. I think it's very important for us to exercise our faith and execute the vision that God has given us, right? When you think about exercising your faith, you have to be believing in what you do. And so I encourage you, as you grow your business model, as you get very clear, adapt the entrepreneur spirit. You're going to have to renew your mind. You're going to have to change the way you feel about things, how you see things. You're going to, not sweat little things anymore. You're going to have big problems. You're building an enterprise. Execute the vision, let it explode, and let your faith rise up in you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jordan, for sharing your knowledge. And thank you to you, the viewers at home, for being here with us. If you are enjoying this content, please don't forget, click subscribe and check out our public classes and production services via the links below. We'll see you next time. The grant to develop this YouTube channel in order to positively affect fashion designers at large. Instead of just the resident designers, we're providing them content. Now we can capture this content and send it out to the masses, and then it will also help promote our small batch production services and our public classes. Thank you, Amy. So just some statistics here. We have 250 registered fashion designers in Kansas City. Who knew? We have strong post-secondary programs in the region, fashion design programs at Johnson County Community College, Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, Warrensburg, Springfield, KU, K-State. We have locally owned boutiques featuring Kansas City design products, and we have, for the first time, as I mentioned, in 30 to 40 years, designers who want to make a living and stay in Kansas City. So we want to help them do that. We do offer public sewing and fashion design classes for all ages and all abilities. We have, for instance, I want to point out in particular Pamela Lucas, again, she teaches a seamstress class, but then also some of our public sewing classes. This is young Sophie, who's been sewing since she was a child. Her mother identified, she's getting bored with these classes. She needs something more. She needs a challenge. She needs more attention. So she reached out to us. She reached out to us over and over and over until we said, okay, I think we'll start doing one-on-one classes. And I'm so glad we have, because Sophie is learning things that some adult designers don't even know. So imagine Sophie. I have found this picture on iStock, thinking it's close to what Sophie might look like when she's older. Imagine the glory that Sophie can bring to our city because she knows so much from a young age. We have an open sew class on the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month. Who has a sewing machine at home? All right. About 10, maybe 15. Who has a project, a stalled project, or a pile of alterations that you haven't gotten to? Raise your hand. All right, me too. So this is a perfect opportunity for you because Pamela Lucas is there on site. You can bring your machine, you can bring in your projects and have her help you, or let's say your machine is broken or you don't have one and you still want to partake, you can use our machines. It's a wonderful way to kind of introduce yourself, to ease back into it, and then keep growing from there. This is Jordan again from the YouTube channel. He's doing a bow tie making class 101 on March 29th. We have 2 spots left. So if you're interested, if anybody in your life wears bow ties, it would be a wonderful gift. So sign up via our website, rightfullysewn.org. We also do a 2-day teacher workshop. This will be the 3rd one that we've done. We can have 10 teachers in there. We've sold out the first 2. We're on our way to selling this out. But essentially, Pamela Lucas, who has almost 30 years of teaching experience, she can work with teachers from the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri to bring up their skills. That way they can teach the young people who are interested in sewing and fashion design. To that point, we're working with Gayla Randall, who is with the Department of Education for the state of Kansas. We are working to create a dovetailed talent pipeline, if you will, between high school level to industry. So how can Rightfully Sewn help them re-engineer their curricula for, when I was in school, it's called home ec. Now it's called FACS or FADE. And so to work with them and reintroduce sewing and fashion design in up to 455 schools throughout the state of Kansas is enormous. And it will impact our future for a very long time. Our public sewing classes, we did 11 last year, and 48 people participated. That generated $22,978 last year, and our revenue goal for this year for public classes is just over $50,000. We also, I should mention, nonprofits, we need to develop earned revenue streams. These earned revenue streams complement the donations that we receive, the sponsorships that we get from corporations, and the grants from foundations. So if you think about the Kaufman Center where I was previously, you can rent that space for a wedding. They have ticket sales, they have food sales, they have wine and beverage sales. For Rightfully Sewn, public classes make sense, and also small batch production services. This is our space. We do have about $50,000 of the best sewing machines on the face of the planet. We have a flat lock machine, which is that creates a seamless, kind of a flat seam for your yoga pants. That way there's not a seam on the inside of your skin. We have a cover stitch machine, which typically finishes the bottom of your yoga pants. We have a blind stitch machine. If you have dress pants and you don't see a hem on the bottom, it's a blind stitch machine. We have straight stitch machines from Juki, from Brother, from Kansai. We have the best sewing equipment, and we bought them all through Missouri Sewing Machine Company and Quilters HQ, which are both locally owned companies. Our lighting is from LED Direct on Southwest Traffic Way, again, another Kansas City company. Our office furniture in the upper left, that was all purchased through Contract Furnishings on 31st and Main. So we're walking the walk and we're talking the talk about impacting America by buying American-made goods. Small batch production clients, these are a few selected clients that I'd like to talk about. Duo Fit. I am so excited about this new brand. We already kind of learned who likes to work out. Who worked out while you were pregnant? Raise your hand. And let's talk about that. Did you struggle to find things that fit or looked exciting? Yes? What else did you experience? Wearing her husband's sweats? Yeah. Jen?
Something that
She wanted to move and she wanted to be comfortable, and typically a garment did not allow her to do both. And there was one other person. Was it you?
Nothing looked good. I mean, well, and my youngest has been a while, but
yeah.
But yeah, not only comfortable, but just.
She wanted it to be comfortable, and it looks like it was intended to wear. And that all these things are being obliterated by this entrepreneur, Duo Fit. Kelsey Walsh is her name, and her tagline is "By mothers, for mothers, built like a mother." Very good. I'm so thrilled to be working with her. Citrus and Sage is not an apparel company, but we like her so much that we have snuck in her home goods. She is an event specialist, event planning specialist, and she got so tired of black and white linens that she has created this company, Citrus and Sage, to develop really beautiful prints. She works with artists, she prints the artwork onto fabric, and then we sew them into linen and also napkins. They're so beautiful. I love having the fabric around in our space. Maddie Apparel, it's been around for a while. It's available through Von Mar. There's a bricks and mortar in the west side. She's represented at a lot of bricks and mortar, actually boutique bricks and mortar. It's kind of like Tom's, where if you buy a pair of her panties or one of her bralettes or a robe or a V-neck or a dress, she's going to donate a pair of panties to a women's shelter, because coincidentally, panties, clean new panties, are the hardest things to come by in a home, in a shelter for women. So we're very pleased to have part of her production. Goldie Bell, the lower right, she is a toddler line based in Kansas, and she was producing in Los Angeles with a factory there. So for us to grab all these projects back and bring them to Kansas City is very exciting. That means jobs, that means revenue, that means an identity for our city. Rightfully Sewn has launched her own black dress, and Jen was very close to wearing hers. I was very close to wearing mine, but it was dirty. I've been wearing it a lot lately because it's very comfortable. It's made out of athletic wear material, so you can throw it in the washing machine and lay it out with your yoga pants when it's ready to dry. We've loved developing this product in our own space. We've designed it, we've cut and sew it. It retails for $189, which we wanted it to be attainable for young professionals and above. And we also wanted to pay the people who are involved in the design work, the patterning work, the cutting and the sewing, the packing, the QC, all to earn a living wage with benefits. So if you're interested in this dress, you can buy it online. We have it extra small to extra large. If you want a different size, you let me know. You can also try one on at Flock 5. Has anyone heard of Flock 5? All right. I encourage you to go and check it out. As professionals, you're always looking for something to wear, and she is specializing in professional women's wear and also some home goods as well. So she's carrying our Rightfully Sewn label there. They're at 110 Southwest Boulevard. We are receiving inquiries from around the nation for our small batch production services because it is a niche in apparel manufacturing. If you are a big company or an old company like Vera Wang or Kohl's, you are most definitely producing abroad. That is the reality of the runs, the technology. But if you are a young fashion entrepreneur, if you are a small design house, you do not want to pay the minimum for 1,000-piece order, 5,000-piece order. So that's where we step in. We can do 20 to 400 pieces per unit. So we have groups from New Jersey, from California, from New York, from Texas reaching out to see, can we produce their work? And the answer is yes. We generated $42,000 last year. We are going to get registered on Makers Row, which is the online conglomeration of groups like us. So we really haven't even started marketing ourselves yet. People are just hearing about us. Our revenue goal for small batch production is over $100,000. And again, I'll say it, it's to really support our programs, to amplify the contributed revenue that we get from foundations, from corporations, and from individuals like you. We have two special events, 2 signature events. If you like to dress up, if you like fancy events, you need to sign up and come and see us. We have the Golden Gala. We have Fashion and Flora. We're a small team, as you'll see in the next couple of slides, and so we don't do one big event every single year because events, as you know, anybody who puts together events, they take a lot of time and energy. So we have Golden Gala in this year, Saturday, December 7th. Mark your calendars. And then the next year, we have Fashion and Flora. The next year, Golden Gala. The next year, Fashion and Flora, and so on. Okay, if you don't mind, we have 2 videos that I want to share with you about the Golden Gala. This film is by Summerhouse, who is doing the production of our YouTube channel. There's a reason for it. Of course, we like to get fancy, we like to get dressed up, but there is a reason for it. Tonight's event is the Golden Gala, our very first biennial, which is focused on fashion. It's a really important fundraiser for our seamstress training program, and it's a celebration of the graduation of our 5 resident designers.
It's perfect. Now I have a perfect job. That's really good because I didn't have any experience here because I'm new, and maybe a couple of days later I get 1 year I'm here and I didn't have any experience. Now I have a full-time job. That's good for my future.
I just finished it 2 hours ago. But fashion's not always glamorous. It's hard work, and it's your passion, and it's grit, keeping at it.
We're looking to our history that we have here. We're looking to the future. We have about 400 people coming tonight. We sold out, which I'm so excited about. Right now, we're in the designer circle component of it, the pre-party. 8 o'clock, general admission opens. We have a live band called Crystal Rose. We're closed tonight down with DJ Sheppa. But there are a lot of beautiful people here wearing beautiful things.
It's so beautiful and so amazing. I'm so happy to be here and part of this community. It's so great. So thank you very much.
She walks and catwalks all over the world. Milan, Paris, London. Okay, tonight's event is, and she's from Lee Summit. So we honored her as part of the awards program. Thank you so much, Amy. So mark your calendars, Saturday, December 7th. We don't have tickets on sale just yet. But if you sign up at rightfullysewn.org, subscribe, you will receive our e-newsletter. These are a few pictures of Fashion and Flora. This is a partnership with Powell Gardens. It's a celebration of interdisciplinary design. We have fashion designers featured, and we have some of the best floral designers from around the region. Dan Miners, who coincidentally is our landlord, and also Chuck Matney and Cottage Rose and the Bloom Academy and so on and so forth. And that is taking place on April 4th, 2020. I like to plan ahead. Our team is small and mighty, and I have to tell you, as an entrepreneur, finding the people, bringing them in, finding what their skills are, that is my favorite part of being an entrepreneur. Our culture for Rightfully Sewn is palpably positive and inclusive, and when I go, let's say on a 3-day weekend or on a vacation, I get really excited to go back. I want to see my friends. We have Godfrey Riddle, who's the Vice President of External Affairs. He's in charge of events and fundraising. Pamela Lucas, who we've already talked about a couple of times, who teaches the seamstress training program and our public classes. And our newest addition is Sarah Watts. We've plucked her from New Mexico, and we're not letting her go. She's in charge of managing our production management. So the revenue stream that I was talking about, the small batch production, she's taking that off my plate and letting it blow up. She's amazing. Also, we have contractors. We have an executive council. You can read through them. I wanted to point out in particular James A. Reed. Has anyone heard of Nellie Dawn or Nell Quinlan Donnelly Reed? There's a musical that's happening this month. Nell Quinlan Donnelly Reed, her born name was Ellen. She was the biggest fashion entrepreneur in the last century, and she was here in Kansas City. She was the 12th of 13 children. She was born in Parsons, Kansas, moved to Kansas City as a young girl to be a stenographer. Her company manufactured 75 million dresses over the course of its life. It's an extraordinary story for a female in the last century in particular. She outgrew, as an engineer, she outgrew 3 factories before she designed and built her own north of the river, and at the time it was the largest dress manufacturing factory on the face of the planet. It was on the railroad station. They would drop off raw goods, they'd pick up the finished products, and they would ship them all over the world. It's an extraordinary story. There's a documentary about her. There's a book about her, the musical that's out, all done by her great-great-nephew, Terrence O'Malley. If it weren't for him being a lover of history, a preservationist of her story and her capabilities, a lot of people would not know that Kansas City was an epicenter of garment design in the last century. Fashion was the second largest industry after the meat packing industry. It's amazing. I also want to point out our vendors, Amy Carlin, our accountant. Oh, I love her. And Chris Wilcoxon, our tax accountant, and Pascal Hinn and Jen Augustine. Really, as an entrepreneur, I always say, and also through Kaufman Fast Track, as soon as you can, you need to hire yourself an accountant and an attorney. And I understand why. So here's a snippet of our organizational health. When I was growing up, I was good at accounting. My father thought I should be an accountant. My first job was working for him in his office. My second job was a lifeguard. My third job was working at a bank. And if you know what a 10 key is, I sat in a special room coding checks. That way they could be distributed, all the money could move from the account to account at the end of the day. So I am happy that I have the creative side of my brain and also the mathematical and accounting side of my brain going. When Rightfully Sewn founded in 2015, it was founded with a $5,000 gift from myself. We have been solvent each year. We have absolutely no debt. We started 2019 with a 4.5-month capital reserve, which every nonprofit needs to have 3 to 6 months of capital reserve. I don't know what for-profits aim for, but that's what nonprofits aim for. Our monthly burn is $40,000. $40,000. That grew from year to year, and I'll tell you, my heartburn grew from year to year, but once you get in it and you really understand your money, where it's coming in, how it's going out, $40,000 isn't such a big deal anymore. You can see how we've grown 195% from 2015 to 2016, 194%, 84%, and then we're budgeted to grow another 51%. Being in our space, I think we'll cap out at about $600,000, just based on, we can't fit that many more staff in where we are, so therefore we can't do that many more programs anymore. So we have signed a 5-year lease, and I would like to stay there for 5 years, and so would our landlord, Dan Miners. So, who am I? I'm a cover girl now, but luckily I was represented by Voices and Modeling Agency in my early 20s. I did maybe 2 gigs, but I had a little bit of modeling experience to do something like this. I was petrified. Also, to be in front of you speaking, it's a huge stretch of my personality because I used to be very quiet. But This was the September issue last year. September is a very important fashion month. That's when all the fashion magazines come out, and they're thicker than usual. And look at this quote that the journalist wrote. Rightfully Sewn is positioned on the cutting edge of greatness. Wow. Providing a model that other communities can follow, not only for job training, but for the acceptance and caring of others. We need caring and acceptance of others more than ever. I'm also a garment district historian. I think it's very important to look back and learn from where we've come, from the people who've been here. This is a particular event I hosted with the Kansas City Public Library at their downtown location. We picked 5 women ages 75 to 97 years old who were seamstresses in the garment factories of the last century. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there were over 400 people that came to hear what they had to say. And if you look at the lower right-hand corner, that's a little girl. Her grandma was up on the stage who she probably didn't know what her grandmother did. So to learn from them and be inspired by them is something I get really excited about. I'm a fashion correspondent for Kansas City Live on KSHB. Again, developing my public speaking skills. It was so hard at the beginning, and now it's kind of like nothing. But Tom Paolini, who's in the lower left-hand corner, he's a good friend of mine, and he's the best suit and tux maker in Kansas City, my humble opinion. But we go on after Hollywood red carpet events, the Grammys, the Oscars, and we talk about best dressed and worst dressed. It's not so much that I like to pin people down and say, I don't like what they wore. It's more about building awareness, being a thought leader, getting Rightfully Sewn's name out there. I'm also a nonprofit specialist, as Amy mentioned. In the upper left-hand corner, that's me at the Kauffman Center. I worked for them when it was just a couple of holes in the ground. It was an exciting time. We raised $465 million. In the lower right-hand corner, if you don't recognize him, that's Henry Block, the H in H&R Block. I worked for him just before Rightfully Sewn started for his 2 foundations, the Block Family Foundation and the H&R Block Foundation. And it was there I was very inspired by his saying, as soon as you have 3 meals a day, it's time to help the next person. I think that's very true. And it was there that I got to know some of the social service agencies that we partner with now to identify participants for the Seamstress Training Program, like Rose Brooks, like Catholic Charities of Northeast Kansas, like Jewish Vocational Services, like Hope Faith Ministries, and so on. I also used to produce fashion shows, and that's how I got to know fashion designers and know that they wanted to stay in our community. So what could I do to make that happen? But first, going way back, how much time? Okay, we're okay on time. Going back, I am a Kansas kid. I grew up in a very small town called Gorham. Has anyone heard of it? No, it's all right. 400 people, and I went to, actually, let me go to the next slide. I like to talk about my family. I had the great fortune of being born into a loving family. My parents, in particular, I loved time at my grandparents' house. This is my grandma in the left. That's very indicative of my childhood. I was barefoot. I was running around in the grass. We were riding bicycles on the dirt road. It was a very simple upbringing. These are my siblings. There are 5 of us, and then 2 of our cousins at Grandma's house, and then we love you, Grandpa. I cried putting this together. But a formative experience for me was when my grandfather was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I lived with him for a summer to help her take care of him. And I'm glad I did that. She's very important to me. She taught me how to sew, and she's not with us anymore, but I do a lot for her, a lot in her honor, including starting Rightfully Sewn. I went to Fort Hays State University, and another formative experience was my dad said, you're going to pay for your own college. I'm so glad that I did pay for my own college. He also said, let's sit down and put a budget together. I had never put a budget together before in my life, but we did it, and I understood it. and I paid my own way. Then I paid my own way for a master's degree in museum studies in Newcastle upon Tyne. So imagine a little prairie mouse. I was just married. I applied to museum studies programs in Colorado, in Chicago, in New York City, and the internet was just a thing. So I found a program called Museum Studies MA in Newcastle University. I applied without telling anybody, because if I didn't make it, no one would know except for me. And it was, my husband he was just coming home from work. I was sitting in our second bedroom in our first apartment reading an email on our computer. And the email said, "You've been accepted and we're giving you this scholarship." He walks into the room and I said, "I've been accepted into a program in England and I'm going." And he said, "Well, I guess I'll come with you." So we went. And the Baltic flour mills, what's interesting there is, I grew up in Kansas, so everywhere you see those white elevators. This is an elevator, but it was for flour mills, and it was transformed into an art museum. They imploded the concrete silos in the middle, and they had an artist come, Anish Kapoor, who made this installation. That went away, and then they filled it with floors, and it's contemporary art. And so I did my master's in museum studies, and I also worked there when I was studying. In the upper left-hand corner, that's me in the red coat with all the students from all over the world. Another formative experience. We had we ate beans, we ate sandwiches, we ate spaghetti because we didn't have a whole lot. But we would take the Channel, we'd use EasyJet, we'd use Ryanair to go to the continent and see all these amazing places for, a couple of prairie mice. It was amazing. In our international student accommodation, we have a girl from Barbados, from Taiwan, from Syria, and actually Haifa and Ali were right across the hallway from us. Their culture was very different from ours, very different. He got up at 4 a.m. to walk us to the train station for us to fly back to the United States. Even though we were so wildly different at the beginning, we became friends, and we're still in contact today. Back stateside, back in Kansas City, I worked at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art. That circular desk, if you've been there, that was my office. They called it the donut. So I managed volunteers, the tour program, and so on and so forth. And then we moved back to London. I worked at the V&A, the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is an incredible institution. And it was there that I learned that fashion is art. I studied art history and then museum studies. And then working at this art museum that had a program called Fashion in Motion that featured fashion designers, I was hooked. So then I moved back to Kansas City. Kaufman Center hired me back. I worked for them a couple years and then moved to London, and then they hired me back for a couple years. Beautiful Hellsberg Hall, that's my favorite. And then I started working for Henry Block and his two foundations, and that's my direct boss, David Miles, who actually was so supportive of me starting Rightfully Sewn. I kept him informed. He let me go down from 5 days to 4 days to 3 days to 2 to 1, and then he let me cross-train the new person, and then I exited. It was an amazing support that he gave me. So why Kansas City? As I mentioned before, we were known for garment manufacturing. In the last century, 95% of what we wore was made in America, 95%. So what that meant is every city manufactured something. Kansas City was known for manufacturing suits, coats, and dresses. That's how Nellie Dawn came to be. This is one of her 3 factories at the Corrigan Station building. If you know that, the roastery is in there now. WeWork is in there now. That's one of the 3 she outgrew before she built her own north of the river at 16th and Swift. Things I hold true. We're kind of short on time, so I'll try and go through. The grandma said this: take what you have and run with it. It doesn't matter if it's, be happy with your car, be happy with your clothes, be happy with your experiences, because that's what you have. Take it and run. Don't live your life to make money, but you do have to understand it. Trust me. I used to delegate all of financial management to my husband, but now that I am passionate about Rightfully Sewn and running it well, I have more hand in my personal as well. And when you get in control of your money through budgeting and related spending, you can become powerful. You get what you give. If you sit down at a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress comes over and you're hangry and you're going to get that right back. Be who you are. Don't try and be anybody else. Social media is very difficult. Some people are comparing themselves to others, but don't do that. Enjoy yourself. Be who you are, and people will be attracted to you because of that. Jane Chu, when I worked at Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, she said, Jennifer, don't let perfection prevent progress. Who hears me? Get it out there. Let people react to it and then make it better. That's the only way. The answer will always be no if you don't ask, and that's why after this I'm going to ask Black Veatch to sponsor a Golden Gala. Wherever you put your energy, that's what's going to improve. That's awesome. I saw that on a desk for somebody, and whether you want to work out on squats, your buns are going to improve. If you want to work out on your business, or you want to do a home improvement, whatever you do to focus your energy on that thing, that's what's going to improve. Nelson Mandela, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave woman or man is not she or he who does not feel afraid, but she or he who conquers that fear. Fortune favors the brave, a Latin ditty, and then no woman, no man is an island. And again, thinking about the Rightfully Sewn staff, there is no way, no possible way that I could or would want to do our initiative on my own. It's important to find people who you run teams here, you have colleagues. You know it's important to find people who have skills that complement your own. Q&A time, what do you think? Amy and Courtney, how much time? 2 minutes. And if you have your phones, follow us at Rightfully Sewn, or also on our website to our e-newsletter. You can see the different social channels that we're on. Let's take 2 quick questions. Okay. All right.
I noticed it's really more on the adults. How about the youth? You talked about the youth a little bit.
Yes.
Is that something you're trying to incorporate more younger people?
We are. So we are working with the state of Kansas to re-engineer that FACTS program to get sewing and fashion design back into 455 schools around the state of Kansas. I want to find a contact on the Missouri side to infiltrate and do the same thing over there. But our public sewing classes, we want to do a summer camp. We had a children's basic sewing class. We hosted a little, it wasn't little, it was 40 students from an area high school who knew Godfrey, and they brought in all their students. We did a fashion show. We had demos. So, yes, it's very important for us to inspire the next generations. And we're new, so we're listening. One of my mentors, Danny O'Neill from the Roastery, he says, listen and pivot. And because we are new, we are always listening, and we're always, trying something new. Thank you, Courtney. Jen?
So consistent with our theme, Be Empowered. Can you tell us about maybe something or some event or someone who particularly impacted you and made you feel that you were empowered to take this path or to walk this road, which was rightfully sewn or otherwise?
Yeah, so many people. About 10 people ran through my head, and I don't know which one to talk about. I don't know, a friend, I think, there's been a lot of conversation about how women apologize too much. Oh, I'm sorry, I have a question, or I'm sorry, I'm trying to get through here, or I'm sorry, don't touch me, you know what I mean? And there was a time when I was with my friend at the DMV, and I said something, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, and he said, what are you sorry about? Be who you are. And that was one of the things that I hold true. And why was I sorry? That is, the statement that I made was a true kind of outpouring of all my life experiences, all the people that I've run across. So does that answer your question? Yeah. Be who you are.
I have a lot more.
I think they want it for the other offices. And also, we're going to send out the links to the videos after this. Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to ask, who are you wearing?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, usually I wear locally made goods, either from our resident designers or from locally owned boutiques. And so this is from Fine Folk, the shoes, which, Courtney, I know you really like. And then this is a dress that I've had for a while from Zara. So every closet will move to a mix of what's called fast fashion. It will include vintage things, heirloom things from your family, and I hope a bigger piece of the pie will become locally made goods and locally owned boutique things. So I think this outfit is a good indication of that. This ring is also by a Kansas City designer. So it's a mix of everything. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry we're out of time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. We got you a small token of appreciation.
Thank you.
We have Girl Scout cookies out in the hallway. Please rip open the boxes, and I have several boxes, so please take some. But thanks again for being here. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, good. Thank you so much. And there is more information about Rightfully Sewn. Our annual report is out here at the table, so you can see what we are up to and our goals for this year. And then also a little card. If you or anyone else you know is interested in our public sewing classes, there's information there for you. Thank you.
Thank you.